when I can. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. President Clements.
Here.
Trustee McNally.
Here.
Trustee Headland.
Here.
Trustee Clementson.
Here.
It's a new order.
Keep me on your toes.
So I don't believe we have any changes to the agenda, so can we have the recommended action to approve the agenda?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as written.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Quite a few different things to read. The Haldane Central School District Annual District Meeting, Budget and Trustee Vote will be held on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 in the Elementary School Library of the Haldane Central School District. The polls will be open to registered voters from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 p.m. The Board of Education will convene at 8 o'clock here in the Middle School High School Library to conduct a regular business meeting, and results of the vote will be announced following the closing of the polls and after the meeting. I also want to let people know about the availability of absentee ballots and early voter ballot applications. Applications for absentee ballots and early voter ballots may be obtained on the district website or by emailing the district clerk, Megan Shields at haldaneschool.org. In-person requests may also be made at the district office between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Applications must be received by mail or in person at the district office by 4 p.m. on May 13th, 2024, if a ballot is to be mailed to the voter, or by 4 p.m. on Monday, May 20th, 2024, if the ballot is to be handed to the voter. Absentee and early voter ballots will be mailed via first-class mail only. I didn't know how to paraphrase that, so I just read it. So I have a couple of things I'd like to comment on before we get started. First, I want to acknowledge that it is National Teacher Appreciation Week, so I appreciate you, Ezra.
Thank you.
I mean, when these events come around, I know all of us sort of stop and think about the teachers that have played meaningful roles in the lives of our children and ourselves, and I certainly did that today. And remembered some of the really special people and professionals that my family has interacted with, and I appreciate them. And on a similar line, one of the things I really got a kick out of at the high school spring concert last Thursday night was watching the students. Like, you really saw pairs of students, typically pairs, who really were having a good time. They were near a friend, they really liked each other, they were really interacting with each other. And they were having a good time, and it was really clearly the teachers, the music leaders, teachers, who create the opportunities for kids to develop those kinds of relationships and then to be able to have what really seemed like a very positive experience performing for the community, and I really appreciated that. I also want to acknowledge that tonight the board will be accepting Dr. Benante's resignation letter. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on his departure right now because there's still almost 2 months left of the school year, and we have a lot of work to do, and that we'll be doing. But I do want to take what I hope will be one of several opportunities to express my appreciation for Dr. Benante's commitment to the district, and I look forward, I want to find some opportunities, or an opportunity at least, for us to reflect on some of the things that we've all been able to accomplish together. And just in closing, as I said in my email to the community last week, the board is actively working on plans for moving forward. We'll be discussing them later tonight in executive session, and I'll be sharing those with the community soon. So thank you. That's all I have.
You reminded me of something, so I just wanted to make a note there. Thank you, Peggy. And I appreciate we're on my comments are related to exactly what you've commented on, mostly. National Teacher Appreciation Week, and today I believe is National Teacher Appreciation Day. Today's the specific day.
It is. I wasn't going to say.
Thank you. And as you had shared, I think it's a great time where we all reflect not only on the experiences that our kids are having with our faculty and our staff here at Haldane, but also those who have influenced our lives in positive ways. And I think I shared with the staff today a perspective that only grows with time. You know I look back on my teachers that I had who nudged my life in a particular direction, and have only grown more of an appreciation for that with, as I get older than maybe I would have expressed or felt necessarily in that moment. And I know our kids will only come to appreciate the experience that they had with our teachers here more. And it's never too late, I would say, to thank your teachers and the influence that they have had on you and your family. Quick note, one of the many activities that are going on campus this week in acknowledgement of our faculty and staff, our high school students. You could, if you were a teacher at the high school today or staff member, you could sign up to have your car washed by our kids after school. So there was a cool little car wash line that was behind the high school today, and I thought that was really neat. And thanks to our students for doing such for our teachers. I also wanted to congratulate our high school students who participated in the spring concert last week. Peggy, it was great to see you there. It was a fantastic concert. At one point, I was becoming concerned with how warm the room was. And, working with the custodial staff to cool it down. I said, the concerts and the performances are so fantastic that I don't think anybody realizes how hot it is in this room right now. We were able to get the air conditioning on and bring the temperature down. But Ms. Stein, Mr. Sauer, Mr. Hulin, who has the rock band, all did a fantastic job preparing the kids for the concerts. It was evident the work that they've been putting in and our students have been putting into rehearsal. The quality of the performance I just thought was exceptional. And also wanted to thank Mr. McGrarty for his support and coordination behind the scenes. Mr. McGrarty is our arts coordinator and just does so much behind the scenes to make sure that our teachers have what they need and our kids have what they need for the performance. So it was a great time. That concludes my remarks for now. I'll have some more remarks at the end of the meeting. And with that, Peggy, if it's okay, I'll provide a brief overview of the budget.
Yes.
Is that
Yes, please.
acceptable? And Megan, we'll get me set up here, and I'll go to this mic just so I can see. So we're obviously in the final weeks of budget presentation as we prepare for the vote. This evening is the time when we reserve space at a Board of Education meeting for a public hearing. Hi, Ms. Cupper. And I'm going to present the budget. Actually, we have 3 propositions that we're considering or we're presenting to the community for vote. So I'll go in order of which the propositions will be on the ballot. The first proposition is the school budget for the upcoming school year. This is how the question will be presented to the community for vote on May 21st. And the details behind this we can get right into. The board is quite familiar with some of these. That being said, we never know when our community members may tune in to apprise themselves of what's going on or what has gone on in budget development. First, just a point of reference that I don't know if I've emphasized in previous presentations. I think the board is quite familiar with this. We have a property tax cap in New York State. It was adopted in 2011. Essentially, the property tax cap limits by formula the amount of monies that a school district can levy from the community. That tax levy limit will vary year to year, again, depending on the formula. Our property tax cap for next school year is 2.8%. As I've mentioned before, I just like to start by looking back over the last 5 years and some of the work that the board has supported as we've look to enhance different areas of our program or program supports here at Haldane. We have a human resource department that is now established. We did not have dedicated individuals to oversee our human resource function in the district 5 years ago. We do now. We've expanded our efforts to be a more inclusive learning community. We included the K-2 special class in the budget for this school year, the budget that we're currently in. We've expanded intervention services at the elementary school that began through COVID, particularly COVID relief funds that came into the district. The Board of Education has supported now the maintenance of that funding now in our budget. We've expanded our foreign language program to now include an introductory experience at the intermediate levels. That was something that did not exist. Our music staffing has increased. We increased a part-time position to full-time in addition to the existing staff that we had in place. We've extended assistant coaching positions in the district. We did that a couple of years ago, again, which just enhances the experience that our kids are having as part of their experiences in athletics. The board has supported an increase in arts and education funding at the elementary school. Each grade level now has dedicated funding to incorporate arts and education residencies at each, again, grade level at the elementary school. And the board has supported independent reviews of both our human resource and special education programs. We've used those audits as a basis for our improvement planning in both of those areas. And you would have heard Mr. Elder or Dr. Cation refer to those audits in their continued updates to the board, whether it be through their monthly reports or the presentations that they provided to the board in previous Board of Education meetings.
Did we also do one for curriculum?
We did do one for curriculum. John, thank you for reminding me. Actually, that was one of the first audits I think we did. Back when you first came on the board, it would have been about 6 years ago. I recall that as well. I'm sorry I did not list that here, but we did. We did that in the first months. I think I was coming on as superintendent, actually. As we went into this budget development, we had an increase in foundation aid of about $120,000. And with that, in addition to what we anticipate to be an increase in the tax levy, it allowed us to examine enhancements across the following areas: mental health and guidance support, again, funding for special education, continuing to examine our opportunities for teacher professional development, which are budget lines that we have supplemented in previous years, and then also examining our need for English as a new language support. And I'll speak in a little more detail to these. Thank you. As I've mentioned in previous reports to the board, our students who are eligible to receive E&L services has doubled over the last 10 years. We currently have one English as a new language teacher. She services in some way, directly or indirectly, all of our students who are eligible for E&L services, which I would also say comes with an accompanying level of support for their families. We see this as a budget cycle where we have a good opportunity, to increase our support in that area. We're currently struggling to be in compliance with what the regulations are as it relates to E&L services. Adding a new E&L teacher will allow us to become in compliance and continue to provide level of support not only to the students but to their families and to the teachers who are working with these students in a general education setting. We also have funding that we can make available to increase a part-time school psychologist position to full-time, and that was included in the administration's recommended budget. The board supported that through their adoption of the budget. This will allow us to have 2 full-time school psychologists as opposed to currently, which is 1.6. It's an opportunity here to add 1 school counselor position. That will allow us to have 3 full-time school counselors across our K-12 programming. We are recommending, and the board has approved in presenting the budget to the community, the reduction of a general education teacher. And as I mentioned, we're increasing the professional development line specifically for elementary literacy. That is not the entire commitment to professional development and elementary literacy. That's a supplement of what already exists. We have about $30,000 already committed to professional learning, specifically for literacy in the elementary program. We're looking to supplement that by an additional $5,000. As I mentioned, we have quite robust, thorough K-12 teacher leadership structure for curriculum, and we want to make available to those individuals the opportunity to expand their professional development resources that are available to them, specifically to allow them to attend regional and national conferences should they like to. We've dedicated $15,000 in the budget for that. We've undergone an extensive review of our approach to phonics instruction at the elementary level this year. We are including a dedicated line for phonics resources at that level for next year's budget. And then, as I mentioned, we're increasing our special education budget line by $50,000. And we're designating that for the continuation of the expansion of continuum of services, which was a direct result and recommendation from the special education audit that was completed over the course of last school year and finalized this fall. We have not yet designated where that funding will go, but we know we need it. We're just, again, working through at an administrative level as we work through our annual review process, which doesn't end until June. Sometimes you're doing annual reviews in the summer, but we expect to be the majority done by June to be able to recommit this funding to, again, expanding the services that we're offering to our students here at Haldane or outside of Haldane. One thing that we heard through the audit, just as a reminder, is that we had committed significant resources and time to the integrated co-teaching program, which is good and appropriate for many of our kids. But we've been encouraged to consider the supports outside of an integrated co-teaching program that we could make available to our students that would allow them to access more specialized instruction in subject areas throughout the day. So that's an example of where we may commit this funding as we continue to finalize programming with our students through the annual review process in the coming months. Go ahead, John.
Just for complete clarity for me and for anybody
Sure.
who may be dipping in at home for the first time, the gen ed reduction is through attrition and not through...
Mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a retiree on
Yep.
the agenda this evening.
Yep.
That's going to occur early next school year, so
Okay,
not
that's
necessarily
right.
at the
That's right.
conclusion of the school year. So when we developed the budget, we did so with the anticipation that we'll have an early year, I wouldn't even say a mid-year retiree.
Yeah.
So we are carrying a level of funding into
Got
next school year, so we don't have a layoff.
Right.
But that being
was-
said, that individual will fill the position that the individual who's retiring
Yep.
will leave.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
not to make it more complicated, but we're avoiding a layoff, which I
Yeah,
think is
that's-
really
that
important to know.
That was my
Yeah.
that was my underlining question.
Yeah.
Report. Okay.
It's just a high-level overview of our revenue summary. We're scheduled to receive $4.4 million in state aid, $1.1 million in other revenue. That's primarily tuition that we receive from other districts for students who are attending school here, Garrison being the most significant in that group. We're designating $645,000 of appropriated fund balance to the budget, $250,000 in reserves, and at a 2.8% levy increase, if approved by voters, that would allow us to generate $22.7 million in revenue from the levy. Just looking at last year, or the year we're currently in compared to next year's proposed budget. Just let you sit with this for a second.
Do you expect tuition to go up as well? Because foundation aid is only going up like 120.
So tuition in the sense of the revenue
Yeah. What's the additional revenue? So taxes going up 620. Total budget is going up 9. That's 300. State aid's going up 120. So where's the other 280 coming from?
Yeah, please. I don't know if I followed John's math there, but
All right. Sorry.
it's okay.
I don't know.
125 we took for, we increased the amount of the reserves that we plan to use.
Yeah.
And we also have seen a big increase because of the current market conditions to
Yeah.
our interest that
Oh,
we earn on
okay.
our deposits.
Okay.
So we put an increase in
Okay.
to better reflect what we're actually bringing in interest income.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. As the board is familiar, we have to present the budget to the community in our budget book in a 3-component format. The first component is the administrative component. You can see just our actual spending over time in each of these areas and what we're proposed to be spending for the 24-25 school year. The lines I just like to draw our attention to is really towards the bottom. What percentage of the budget as a total is this spending, or does this spending reflect? So we've hovered, between 11%. Next year, our spending in this area, as proposed, will be 12.26%. And the most significant increase you'll see here is in administration. We've added staff. I believe that would be reflected there, Catherine, on the administration line.
And then also we had the increase in related employee benefits.
Correct.
You're seeing in there.
And if folks couldn't hear that home, the related increase in employee benefits there. The capital component, which primarily is our operation and maintenance staff, and also our debt service. And as a percentage of the total budget, this is where you'll see a slight reduction over the years. We were at around 14 to 15%. We're now just below 13. Our debt service schedule is something that the board, I know, has become increasingly familiar with. That's actually the debt service schedule that we're monitoring or managing with our fiscal advisors as we consider another building project. How can we best leverage our debt service schedule in a way that keeps any future capital work or manage any future capital work in a way that keeps taxes as low as possible on any project that the board is presenting to the community in the future. Okay, and our program component, which is the most significant component of the budget, is outlined here. This is where you'll see as a percentage of the total budget, we've gone from just below 70% to just below 75% over the last 6 years. Most notable increases in 23-24. Again, as additional foundation aid has been coming into the district, we've added positions really over the course of this entire time, but that we've done more over the last 2 years than we did in the 4 years preceding it.
That was all in $900,000 over the course of the total.
Well,
Yeah.
another about that, I would say, Catherine, 120 or so this year. I feel like the year we got the biggest hit, it was around 7. Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
$900,000 sounds right, John. Okay. As we like to share this chart, this is included in our materials that we provide to the community. Just given what your home market value is, what will a 2.8% increase to the levy equate to in the taxes that I'm paying to the school? That's influenced by the market value of your home. So if you have a home whose market value is $500,000, that will likely be a $203 increase to your school taxes. So that's Proposition 1. Proposition 2 is the vehicle purchase proposition. We have identified a 65-passenger school bus that we would like to replace, 16-person bus with a lift, one maintenance vehicle. We do try to upkeep or maintain our maintenance vehicles through these propositions and are always looking to add or replace a piece of equipment, which get a lot of wear here on our campus. And again, these are financed over a 5-year bond anticipation note. So we're bringing on debt that's consistent with debt that's expiring. So these are tax neutral propositions. And we note that in all of our communications to the community. As I shared with the board at I believe our last meeting, could have been the meeting before, which was our bus replacement schedule. Just a reminder that we're undergoing a feasibility study for the conversion of electric buses. We expect that study to be complete around June. Again, there was an exchange during an initial review where we asked it's not Central Hudson, they're commissioning the study, but they have a different group that's actually doing the study for the school. We had asked them to consider a couple of different things, scenarios, if you will, that could potentially influence cost. So we want to be thorough with that study. So they need to go back and work on that. That's what we're waiting on now.
27.
27 is when we're required any new bus purchase to be electric.
Okay.
There is quite a bit of lobbying effort going on to get that pushed back, just given the cost. And there's some good incentive for the cost of the buses right now to offset the difference in what a regular diesel vehicle would cost versus an electric. But I think as districts are becoming more aware of the infrastructure costs as well, and then the potential for the incentives to expire. These are, most districts that I'm familiar with present their vehicle purchase propositions as tax neutral. So if you can imagine a district that maybe has a fleet of 200 buses and has to, remember, it's 2027 is the start of 2035, all vehicles have to be electric. So there's some districts out there that are larger that have would have to have a very ambitious replacement schedule that the net cost to the community would be significant. And there's worry that now your vehicle purchase prop is overshadowing your regular school budget.
Right.
So maybe you're trying to keep your school budget to a 2% tax impact, net tax impact, or around there, 2 to 3. It's usually where we've been. Well, now your vehicle purchase proposition could be an additional 2 or 3% in and of itself. So that's some of the, I guess, stress that folks are feeling now as they anticipate this. For us, I think, go ahead.
Sell them down south.
Yeah, you could sell them.
Really?
Yeah.
We sell buses down south because ours rust out.
Yeah.
Right.
Southern schools, they don't have the requirements for rust maintenance that we do.
Right.
So you actually, districts sell them and get some of the money back.
Right.
You can't be selling electric
Yeah.
buses down south.
Yeah.
To
If
places.
we're electrified and they're not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
The third proposition will be the turf field replacement. And again, we've done a lot of work through the fall to identify a company that would replace the turf on our athletic field. That field was installed in 2012. Generally, the life expectancy of those fields is around 12 years, and that's where we are. So we're scheduled for a replacement this summer. That's going to cost approximately $750,000. The good news with this, again, we've been putting money away for the eventual need to replace the field since it was installed. So we have that money available to us now. However, in order to use those funds from the capital reserve, voters have to authorize their use. So we're presenting this to the community for the authorization to commit the funds that the district already has to the replacement of the turf field. And hopefully with the community's support, that's work that will start right at the conclusion of the school year, and that way the turf field has been replaced by the time fall sports start, which is in mid-August.
Replacement begins in June or July?
We expect it to occur as soon as school ends, which would be June.
June.
Yeah.
I just want to know whether they're going to put a big blue devil in the middle of this.
I forgot our H? Yeah, it's an H. I looked at the design months ago, and sorry, it escaped me. Not a blue devil, an H.
Not a blue devil.
Yeah. Yeah, we made some executive decisions
Yeah,
there
put
and
together,
decided not
that's
to
probably a good
put it
call.
out to, yeah.
PH is good.
Okay, and just, we haven't discussed contingency, I don't believe, up to this point, but just as a reminder, if voters reject the district's proposed budget, the board does have options that are available to it. We can call for a revote of the same budget or a modified budget. That would be in June at some point, and that would obviously require an exchange on our part to try to assess what do we feel maybe went wrong and what do we feel the community would support. The board can also enact a contingency budget that would require $620,000 in reductions in the current budget as it's been presented. We'd have to set the levy to zero. That's what would be, that's how much we would need to reduce in order to set the levy to zero. These have not been, knock on wood, this has not been something that we've really, we've been faced with in the years, certainly since I've been here. We've had a high level of support for the school budget as it's been presented. It's my hope we would see that again, but if not, we always have to have in the back of our minds, if the budget were to fail, what, again, would we look to reduce to either in a modified budget or in a contingency budget. These are just a couple of the visuals. Megan does a great job putting these together for the community and for our partners for use. It's basic information about the budget, again, that we share with community members as we near the budget vote. You'll start to see these go out in addition to the budget newsletter next week. Yeah. I don't have anything else unless there's further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that's required is for the district to hold an open hearing, a public hearing on the budget. And so at this point, that's what I'm doing. I am opening the public hearing of the adopted budget of for Haldane for 2024. So if anybody has any questions or comments, they're welcome to come up to the podium and pose them. We're all here to answer them. All right. So at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you for that presentation.
You're welcome.
It's great. I know for the superintendent, and I'm sure the business official, you all have worked on it so many times, and it must, I know it feels repetitive to repeat it, but I actually really feel like, for me at least, the repetition is really helpful because it really helps me internalize everything. So thank you so much. I thought that was really great. Okay, so we're at the point in our agenda for the first opportunity for communication from the public. The Haldane Board of Education desires and values input from the entire school community. This first public comment session is reserved for comments on any special presentations or active agenda items. For those who wish to address the board, please sign in and state your name for the record. Please keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Discouraging remarks and discussion of district personnel are strongly discouraged. Although we would not engage in dialogue, please know that we're listening, and we'd ask that you leave your contact information with the district clerk for prompt follow-up from either myself or Dr. Benante. All right, so next on our agenda are information reports that we'll be acting on at our next business meeting. And then we'll move into consent agenda minutes from our last meeting, our workshop meeting on the 24th. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next on the agenda, we have committee minutes, and we have minutes from the Wellness Committee. So thanks to Ezra for continuing to work with that committee. Is there anything you want to?
Yeah, I mean, so the committee continues to look through, just more ability to engage with students via mental health. They're looking for some mental health training. They were also looking about including information about eating disorders. Has been, as more and more of those have become important for seeing that in middle schools, right, coming up.
okay.
So, kind of really looking at that holistically, a really good holistic approach. Conversations went about in addiction prevention subcommittee as well, but also a good conversation about screen-free week and how we address those things without promoting shame. I think, which is really important, and something that talking about really positive choices for families and children, and promoting that without creating an environment of shame, which is important. So overall, the Wellness Committee, I love serving on it,
Yeah.
and they're really, really working hard to promote positive mindfulness for children.
Great, that's great. It's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. All right, so now we'll move into consent agenda financial. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
I just wanted to draw more so the community's attention. I know the board's familiar with this, but that the contract supplemental memorandum of agreement with the Haldane Faculty Association is included as an item herein. As John and Sean can attest, we engaged in a number of sessions with the HFA over several weeks to arrive at a settlement on a 3-year contract. I just wanted to thank both John and Sean for their time and energy that they committed to that process, as well as Josh Elder and Catherine, who both sat in on negotiations, as well as the Haldane Faculty Association leadership, Tom Vergidamo, Ashley Linda, who serve as president and vice president, respectively, also Mark Patinella, who serves as the chief negotiator, and the rest of the negotiations team. I think it's a fair contract. It's reflective of our community's values for its teachers, but also remains responsive to the community's needs for educational continuity and fiscal stewardship. That being said, I have nothing else to share.
That's great, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now moving into consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Is there anything you wanted to state about this?
I did. I wanted to welcome Michelle Wright, who will be replacing, I shouldn't say replace, Miss Shanahan is retiring, and I'd say Miss Shanahan's irreplaceable in many ways. But Michelle Wright will be learning alongside Jane for some time as we wish Jane well and get ready for her departure. And again, welcome to Michelle. And also want to just express my appreciation and acknowledge Miss Windels' retirement. Granted, it's early next school year, so we're going to have some time with Miss Windels before she retires, but certainly have appreciated working with Miss Windels in my time here, and I'm glad to see good things for her in the next phase of her life. I also know my resignation's on here, but I'm going to hold my comments on that for the end, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. New business. May we please have the recommended action for the CSE, CPSE recommendations?
We have some unfinished
Oh,
business.
sorry, we did. I had one, I always am, okay, sorry about that, thanks. Unfinished business. So the first is we had the first reading for the policy 6190, the workplace violence. So we had our first reading of that, and so may we have the recommended action for that, please, Megan?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby adopts the following Haldane Central School District policy as attached, 6190, workplace violence prevention.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
I think we can just move into the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And next is the resolution to approve the July 10th reorganization meeting date that we all discussed and talked about last time. Megan?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education, in accordance with 17072 of the Education Law, hereby designates July 10th, 2024 as the 2024-2025 annual reorganization meeting.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now new business with the CSE, CPSE recommendations.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendations of the Committees on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as presented.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so now, discussion, a board retreat. So in talking with Dr. Benante, I thought it would be, we had sort of put off our retreat, sort of waiting to get to some particular places related to the capital bond referendum. I think we're actually at this point, and then also with Dr. Benante getting ready to leave us, it makes sense that it's a good time for the board and Dr. Benante to come together for a retreat, but that means that it needs to happen before June 30th.
And just one, if I may.
Yes, please.
Remind the board that we felt that it was a good idea to have the retreat once we had a construction manager, as well as CS Arch, who's the architect engineer firm we'll be working with, identified. And while we're still yet to identify a construction manager, we just have a loop to close on that. I expect that we will formally very soon. So hope to have a recommendation to you on that for our next board meeting, which would be the 21st. So really any date after the 21st, I would think would be a good time for us to meet and talk about the process as it relates to the capital project and what will be taking place between now and September, and then between September and whatever we identify as a vote, which would probably be second or third week of October.
Maggie's not here, which is not great.
Did she not forward dates?
I didn't think, I asked everybody to bring their calendar, and I did not ask her. I mean, finding a date with this group is always tricky.
Although Maggie plans to attend,
I
I
think
don't
we
know if
could
it's
just,
appropriate. Could we do it?
I
in
think we
exec?
can talk about it in exec session. It's just
She'll
finding
be
that,
there?
just so everybody knows, we're gonna identify a date for a retreat.
Sure.
We're all together, and we all have our calendars. So I think, I was ready, I think we need to first decide like weekday or Saturday, and then sort of go
And you're
from there.
looking just for after the 21st?
After the 21st
Of May.
Okay. Of,
Of May.
of
oh,
May.
wow, that's even better.
Yeah, after the
Well,
21st of May.
June, I was like, wow, it's a hard
No.
sale. Right
And I
there
don't
at the,
think we need a tremendous amount of time. I would say 3 hours just to cover us. Dinner, but I don't think we need a lot of
I
time
think that's fine.
at that.
Yeah.
So if we want to do it on Tuesday, because Tuesdays are available,
That sounds good.
just to
That's fine. All right.
stay out there.
All right, and
Or
so,
not.
says, what did you say? Sorry.
Well, I
Or John made a noise, and I said, or not.
Yes, it was a very ambiguous noise that I made.
It's okay.
so.
We'll figure it out.
So, for our review, next on the agenda is a 24-25 board meeting schedule. Thanks to Megan for putting that together.
This is a
Oh.
little earlier than we usually look at it, but
I think that's okay. One of the things I noticed when I looked at it was I think it might say June 9th as a reorg meeting. Just make sure that it says
Oh,
June
then we
10th as a
changed.
reorg
Okay.
meeting.
I'll look at that.
well, it says July.
July. So,
Oh,
July.
10th.
It
Got
says July 9th.
Got
Make
it.
sure it says July 10th. And will we act on that at the reorg meeting?
We do usually act on it at the reorg meeting. I'll have to double check if we actually act on it or if it's just
Yeah,
there by
that's a
way
good
of
question.
information, but,
I feel like we do, because I feel like when we change it, we have to
Yeah.
act on it.
What we act on, actually, I'm remembering at the reorg, we act on the fact that there are certain meetings that don't fall on the first and
That's
third
what it
Tuesday.
is.
That's what we act on, the ones that differ from
Right,
that.
and there are a few on there because
There are
I think of the
holidays
holidays.
and things, yeah.
Okay, great.
We had some discussion about the August meeting and obligations that we have for information
Right.
that has to.
Oh, actually, anyway, I'll follow up with you.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds good. So now, next on the agenda is approval of the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association slate of officers and directors and their budget for 2024-2025. May we have the recommended action?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education casts a yes vote for the 2024-2025 Westchester Putnam School Boards Association nominating committee slate of officers and directors, and a yes vote to ratify the 2024-2025 Westchester Putnam School Boards Association budget.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Any conversation? Nope. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So we are now at the second opportunity for communication from the public, if there's any. All right. Any board reflections?
I have a reflection. I wanted to already let everyone know that our president has already, I think, gone to great lengths to make sure that this transition, that we're ahead of the game. It's a considerable lift. Obviously, it's one of our primary responsibilities as a board, and I feel really great about the fact that you're leading this and that you've done so much. And I just really appreciate your leadership on it, and I just think people should know that. So thank you, Peggy.
That means a lot. Thank you. All right. And Dr. Benante.
Well, I just wanted to share, obviously, I appreciate the board's, your comments, Peggy, earlier in the meeting, and know that my resignation presents a burden on the board, and it runs in distinct opposition to, I think, how I've operated over the last 6 years, was to keep things and prevent burdens from coming to the board. With that, I can only say I'm here to help also with that transition to the extent that the board wishes for me to do so. So at no consequence to our relationship, because I value the relationship that I have with each of you. If you choose to go it independently, that's understood. But at the same time, I'm here for 2 months, and I'm here to help. And my energy and attention is on Haldane during this time. I just want to thank our board and the community for their support over the last 6 years. I very much felt that Haldane was a community that welcomed me 6 years ago, and over time, as I've included my family, has welcomed my family. At times, probably welcomed my family more than me, depending on what was going on. That's a joke, no, but Carrie and Cole and Luke, I know, always looked forward to their time here in Phillipstown, whether it was attending events or just hanging out with Dad sometimes because he's in the office, and they loved it, and I know they're going to miss it just as much as I'm going to miss it. When the time comes. I think many will point, and I've noticed this, to leadership through COVID as maybe a moment that stands out if one were to look. But when I reflect, and I think over time, and I hope I've shared this enough, I think that the biggest accomplishment, if there is one, that I've had, and I'm not one to point to that, and said such in my letter, but the work that the board committed to in working with one another, and me as part of that as a governance team, very early on in this process, was the foundation in which anything else that happened afterwards, whether it be through me or the administration here in the 6 years that followed. We really dug into that work when I first came on. And I know there were different board members here then, and new board members have come on since then, but we established, I think, a way of operating that has worked really well and served as a model for other school districts in how we've approached our work. So if I were to point to any one thing, it's stuff that happened largely outside of the public eye in sitting down through our retreat, really talking about and making commitments to what do you need from me and what do I need from you in order for us to do great things for our kids. And I think we made those commitments, and we followed through on those commitments for 6 years. And I've just have nothing but a feeling of gratitude for it. And again, I know that's something that's not seen. It's work that continues in many ways as we go along here. But I did want to point to that. As an administrator, I've tried to be a good student of other administrators and other leaders. And I think when you come to these transitions, it's your responsibility to be available, as I've shared. But it's also your responsibility to quietly kind of fade into the background as folks prepare for the transition. So that is what I plan to do. I'm here. My attention's fully on Haldane, but it is time for me to gradually step back, play whatever supporting role the community and the board in particular wants me to play. But the best leaders who I've worked under or around have always gradually kind of faded to the back as new people come up and through, and that's what I plan to do. The last note, because there'll be more time as we go along, I hear my colleagues share that a superintendent's legacy is about the people who he or she hired and tenured, and I think there's a little more to it than that. But that being said, I'm just really proud of the people who I've had the part in bringing to Haldane, and I'm just one part of that. In the process, we have our teacher mentors and supportive colleagues or building principals and but there's been a lot of transitions at the classroom and district level over the years, and I'm really proud of the people who have come into those positions through what was a really vulnerable time when folks who've worked as part of our organization for a really long time moved on and retired, which is wonderful for them. But as you know, we don't have a really deep administrative structure here. I think we manage significant changes in administration really well, and I'm really proud of the people who've come into those roles. And then I'm really proud of the faculty and staff that we've hired. I really think that we're brought in exceptional teachers and staff members who take great pride in their work and their service for our kids, and who work under an already exceptional staff in many ways. And then Haldane will continue to be Haldane as we move forward. So I just wanted to share those remarks in closing, Peggy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So the board is going to convene into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of actually particular individuals. The board will not take any action during the executive session, and we will adjourn from executive session. So at this point, I'm going to move to go into executive session. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.